There are certain smells that don't just trigger memory, they transport you, not to the event itself, but to the exact feeling of being there, the temperature of the air, the light through the window, the weight of your own body in that moment. It's not like watching a film of your past, it's like stepping into it, becoming the person you were, if only for a few seconds. I was walking home from work when it happened. Nothing special about the day. Gray sky, cold enough for a coat but not cold enough to complain about, the kind of Wednesday that doesn't ask anything of you. I was thinking about dinner, about the emails I hadn't answered, about the usual nothing that fills a Wednesday evening when you're too tired to think and too awake to stop. And then I passed someone on the sidewalk wearing a particular scent, not perfume exactly, something simpler. Laundry detergent, maybe, or soap, the kind that doesn't announce itself but lingers just enough to notice. Clean, warm, unremarkable in every way except that it wasn't. And suddenly, I was 17 again. I was in the art room stairwell, the one no one used, the tall, narrow window with the rain streaking down, turning the bricks outside into something soft and impressionistic. The smell of that place, old concrete, dust, the faint chemical scent of ceramics down the hall, and Noah, sitting 10 feet away, not looking at me, not speaking, just existing in the same silence. I could feel the cold concrete through my jeans. I could hear the faint drip of water somewhere. I could see his reflection in the glass, blurred by rain, just a shape that I knew was him. I stopped walking, actually stopped mid-step on a busy sidewalk because the memory hit so hard it had mass. It wasn't just in my head, it was in my body. People flowed around me like water around a rock, some muttering, most not even noticing. I didn't care. I couldn't move. In the memory, I was watching him without watching him, the way you do when you're afraid of being caught looking. The way he held his phone loosely, not really looking at it, just holding it like something to do with his hands. The way his shoulders rose and fell with a slow breath, the kind you take when you're finally alone. The way the gray light from the window made everything soft, like the world had been turned down a notch. We'd sat there for 20 minutes, maybe longer. Neither of us moved, neither of us spoke, and it was the most connected I'd felt to anyone in years, not because of what we said, because of what we didn't need to say. The person with the scent walked past, gone. The smell faded into the general cold of the evening, and I was back on the sidewalk, 27, standing still while the city moved around me, a woman who'd just been yanked across a decade by something as simple as laundry detergent. I started walking again, but the memory stayed. It walked with me all the way home, settling into my chest like a second heartbeat. That night, I couldn't shake it. I made tea, sat on my couch, and let myself go back there, to the stairwell, to the silence, to the way it felt to be near someone who understood that words weren't always necessary. I closed my eyes and tried to recall every detail. The cracks in the concrete steps, the way the rain sounded different in that space, muffled and intimate, the exact shade of gray of Noah's sweatshirt, the way he'd shifted once, just once, and the sound of his jacket rustling had seemed louder than it should have been because everything else was so quiet. I thought about Noah now, the way he'd looked in the grocery store, a little tired, a little surprised, a lot like himself. The way he'd tilted the umbrella toward me in the rain, without being asked, without making it a thing. The way we'd stood at that corner, getting wet, neither wanting to leave, both pretending we weren't hoping the other would say something. The same person, older, but the same. I wondered if he remembered the stairwell, if he ever thought about that afternoon the way I did, if it meant to him what it meant to me, if he ever caught a random scent and found himself transported back to a moment he'd forgotten he remembered. Probably not. Probably it was just another day for him, a random silence in a random stairwell, filed away and forgotten by now. That's the rational part of me, the part that knows we assign more weight to our own memories than anyone else does. But the other part, the quieter part, kept whispering, maybe. Maybe he remembered the rain on the glass. Maybe he remembered the weight of that silence, the way it held both of you without asking for anything. Maybe he carried it too, without ever mentioning it, the same way I did. I pulled out my phone, opened our chat, the one with no messages since the grocery store, since the rain, since the corner, just an empty space with his name at the top. I stared at it for a long time. The cursor blinked, waiting. In the memory, we hadn't needed to speak. The silence was enough. It was the whole point. But this wasn't silence. This was distance. This was two people who'd shared something unnameable and then let it drift, not because they wanted to, but because neither knew how to hold on without seeming to hold on too tight. I typed, "Do you ever think about the stairwell?" Stared at it. The words looked too direct, too vulnerable, too much like an admission. Deleted it. Typed, "I passed someone on the street today and for a second I was 17. Better, softer, but still too much. Still an opening I wasn't sure I was ready to make." Deleted that too. In the end, I typed nothing, put the phone down, finished my tea, watched the steam rise and disappear, the same way that scent had disappeared on the sidewalk, the same way that afternoon had disappeared into years. But the question stayed with me. It sat on my chest while I tried to sleep, a gentle weight. Do you ever think about it? Do you ever think about us? Not us as we are now, but us as we were then? Two people who didn't know each other but understood each other completely for 20 minutes? Two people who sat in silence and called it connection? Two people who, without a single word, told each other, "I see you, I get you, you're not alone in this." I don't know if I'll ever ask him. I don't know if I need to. Some questions are better left unasked. Some answers are better left unknown. But lying in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something. The memory wasn't just a memory. It wasn't just nostalgia or sentiment or wishing for the past. It was a reminder, a proof of concept. It showed me that connection doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be constant. It doesn't need to be explained or maintained or performed for an audience of anyone. It just needs to be recognized in a moment, in a silence, in a stairwell. And I recognized him then, now, maybe always. I fell asleep thinking about the rain on that window, the way it blurred the world outside, made everything beyond that small space seem distant and unimportant, the way it made the stairwell feel like its own small planet, just big enough for two people who didn't need to talk, the way the gray light softened everything, even us. I wonder if he remembers. I hope he does. But even if he doesn't, I have it. The memory is mine. It belongs to me. And sometimes when the world is too loud and I need to remember what connection feels like, I go back there, to the stairwell, to the rain, to the silence that wasn't empty.